Welcome to another episode of Just More Fix. This is James. With me in this episode is Lacey.
Hey.
You can find us online at justmorefix.com or on Twitter at justmorefix. If you like us, you can support us at Patreon, and you can give us a rating or review at Apple Podcasts or wherever you find us at. In this episode, we're going to GameStorm 17th Century Submarine. And now, it's time to get our gaming fixed.
I'm Willie D. Nelson from All Things Good and Nerdy, a pop culture podcast, part of the Gonna Geek Network. Just like the show you're checking out now. Shows on the network are individually owned, and opinions expressed may not reflect others. Find other tantalizingly geeky shows at GonnaGeekNetwork.com.
Welcome to Just More Fix. A couple of announcements today. First off, I got the email this afternoon on the way home today, and the Hastings party is printed up, and I have to go pick it up at the print shop. So it should be in the mail this week as this episode drops. So look. So for those of you that are Patreon supporters, look for those in your mailbox coming in the next few weeks as I get those shipped out. And second announcement is that if you would like to see some of the art previews for our Kickstarter and as well for our Patreon, you can go to patreon.com/justmorefix and check out some of the rough sketches of the portraits of the Three Sisters zine that we have coming out. So you can see those on, like I said, patreon.com/justmorefix. We have one of them up there right now, and I believe I'll be posting another preview in a couple of days here, and then there'll be a third one coming after that. So super excited for those. Ivy Fowler's is the one that did the artwork for that, and we're super excited and happy with those. They came out amazing. They are really, really good and really far apart from one another. I like how different each of the characters sort of looks, and they have their own distinct look and feel and fashion and the whole bit. So very, very cool. Super happy with that. Last announcement is, unfortunately, today they officially canceled Gen Con, and so it looks like there is going to be some kind of online convention happening for Gen Con. So I'm not exactly sure what we're going to do or if we're going to run games or how that's going to work for us on our end, but stay tuned for that because, I don't know, we may do something and we'll see how it goes and sort of how things develop. And yeah, I don't know. If nothing else, maybe we'll play some games. So, all right. So today we are going to GameStorm 17th Century Submarine, which may seem like a little crazy, but apparently I had this sort of thing about like some underwater adventures in D&D rolling around in my head. And so I was like, how would you get down there? And Lacey suggested that, what was the book that you read?
Okay, so I looked it up so I would have it. The short title is Deep. However, it's one of those things with the colon and then there's like a whole bunch of words. So the full title is Deep, Freediving, Renegade Science, and What the Ocean Tells Us About Ourselves. That's by Nestor.
Okay.
Amazing book.
Right
I stumbled upon it quite by accident. I was doing like this, you have like the contest with your friend, like a reading challenge. And you have to read so many different kinds of books. And this was the book I picked for based solely on the cover.
Okay, cool.
Because it has a very stark, deep blue cover with like a guy just kind of floating there. I was like, oh.
Right on.
So it's all about ocean exploration, basically. It's this writer who goes to watch a freediving champion, I guess call it, contest. Anyways, and so then he becomes like fascinated with this and starts like investigating freediving. But it's kind of interesting because the book is written in layers based on depth. So it talks about like, this level of ocean exploration and, when that happened, what happened here. And then it goes farther down and farther down. That's when it starts talking about submarines. And I remember being just absolutely astounded at how early people started sinking themselves into the ocean in submarines.
So we're not going to talk about scuba gear. We don't really look at that per se, because I know that goes on pretty early. Basically, when they have, as soon as they're able to sort of have tube, they have people that put one end of the tube in their mouth and go underwater, and the other person on the surface holding it in the air, basically, right? And pearl diving has been a thing for a long, long time and everything. But the first submarine, as it looks like, was made in the 1600s. So it looks like 1620 to 1624.
Oh, fun random insertion talking about pearl diving. Apparently, I think the depth is like 30. And once you get to that depth, your body stops wanting to float and begins wanting to sink. So interesting.
Yeah, so I was going to talk about buoyancy when we actually kind of got. I was like, it's a weird thing to see because you can actually watch those pearl divers or free divers in that case walk on the seafloor like you would walk anywhere else because the pressure from above with the water kind of negates things.
Your natural human buoyancy.
Yeah, and so gravity works down there, and you actually have to swim up to get away from the water, or the pull of the gravity or whatever. So the first submarine looks like it was made in 1620 to 1624 by Cornelius Jake Jacobzoon Drebel, and it was made for Jacob I, the King of England. So it looks like they made 3 prototypes, and it held 16 people, 12 of which rode oars, kind of like a rowboat with a top on it with some leather sleeves through the sides where the oars went, and apparently it could stay underwater. It made this journey from Greenwich to somewhere else. I can't remember what the name of the 2 towns were.
Did it say like how far under the water it was? Like, are we talking
deep?
like 5 feet or like
It said 15.
10, 15?
15.
Okay. All right,
So
I feel like that's reasonable.
Yeah, I mean, it's actually underwater all the way, right? And I'm curious though, if they're that deep, if they're 15 feet underwater and it's powered by oars, and I realize for those of you that don't know, like when you canoe or you work a rowboat, when you pull the water, when you go to move the oars forward or the paddles forward, you turn them sideways so they cut through the air, so you're not, getting pushed backwards. But that really, if you're completely submerged in the water, I'm not sure how well that would work. Like, it's going to work a little bit better, but you're still going to.
I mean, those are basically like fleshy oars.
Right. Fair enough.
They're flat and paddle-like.
Right.
They get it done.
Fair enough. So they built 3 of these prototypes, and apparently they made some journeys with them, but they never got put into wide use or anything. So
I am shocked.
I know, right? So 1620 is right in that 30 Years' War window and right in the time of most of your Lamentations supplements. And so kind of what else got me thinking about this is how when we had interviewed Patrick Stewart some time ago, he was talking about Veins of the Earth and how originally it was set to be some kind of an underwater thing, and then it was kind of hard to work, and they changed the idea of it a little bit, and then it became what it is today, which is Veins is an amazing book. But I really like the idea of the isolation of like space stations, and like if you think what is that same world but on the Earth in like a fantasy context, and that's deep underwater, right? Right, exactly. So I was kind of wondering what would it look like if we GameStormed some kind of a weird Space Hulk crawl kind of a thing, but deep underwater as opposed to in outer space, right?
So the idea is solidly science fiction.
No. So we're going to do this in sort of like a Lamentations, an LOTFP 17th century low fantasy kind of a world, right?
But no unusual technology, so you're not like crossing into like steampunk territory.
No. Yeah,
Okay.
Yeah. So
I'm just, surveying my options.
Right. So, I mean, like if we want to have a little bit of a touch of some weird technology, maybe, but fundamentally it should, be feasible-ish, I guess, like bellows. Like if we're talking about wooden submarines going down to depth, I think, we're already treading into some strange areas as it is anyway, right? So,
well, this would obviously be some sort of weird elitist pastime. Well, I mean, who has time, money, and inclination to leave the land?
Murder hobos.
Only ridiculously rich people.
Right. So, well, before we go down this road, how nautical stuff I've been in love with for a long time. And if you've been listening to the show, you should know that because we've talked about it a whole bunch, right? But most adventures take place on land, and sort of being on the ship is just a sort of transitionary period you do, or you have the sea monster adventure or the mermaid adventure, right? Which is not what we want to do here at all. We want to make something completely different and sort of terrifying in my mind, right?
And they're like the anglerfish eater.
No, I'm all about it. Yeah. I guess not, not the mermaid in the Little Mermaid sense, more of like the terror siren kind of a thing.
Siren,
yeah, no, I'm all about it.
Sea hag and serpent, all the proper sailor stuff.
Okay, so why don't we start? I kind of thought about, since like envisioning this like kind of like a Space Hulk kind of a thing, right? What if should we start with that, or should we start with why our characters are going there? Should we start with like the location they're going to go to and kind of like lay that out a little bit, or should we back up and why are the characters going there? Do you know what I'm saying?
I don't know. I think the most obvious explanation for why they're going there is, like I said, some weird, rich, eccentric, elitist man has his cargo has been sunk or something and needs you to retrieve it.
Okay. So
or some such,
Is the Space Hulk, I keep saying Space Hulk.
It can't be a Space Hulk because you said it's not a science fiction.
I know, I realize that. I keep saying that. And we need a different word. I don't know what that would be. Shipwreck, yeah. But I was thinking about, like, what if it was sort of like a wizard's tower under the water? Do you know what I'm saying? Like, where, like, for lack of a better word, like an actual, series of tubes. Do you know what I'm saying? You know what I mean? Like space station-ish. Do you know what I'm saying? But, like, underwater. And because I thought, man, what's more secure than like 100 feet under the water in the middle of an ocean, that
spell create an interesting bank tube sort of situation.
Well, I suppose you could like stone shape it if you
like
you could stone shape that in theory and make it watertight. You know what I'm saying? Because you basically be sculpting stone, and nothing sinks like a rock. So
to have ocean through.
Well, I don't know. It can't be entirely see through because there's some really kind of creepiness that you have when something's like bong, bong on the outside of it, and you can't see what it is. Do you know what I mean? And all you have is the little porthole, and you see the giant tentacle or whatever it is that goes across of it, or the thing that goes by really fast.
Okay,
you know. So, all right. So, what is this thing that is down here? Like, what is the purpose of it? Like, does someone live there? Is it
like you have to decide what it is? Like, is it a wizard's tower? Is that what you want to do, or do you want it to be like a ruined city that somebody has sent you to like archaeology retrieve artifacts sort of situation?
The only thing is
Atlantis.
If it's
boom, go into Atlantis.
A city though, then they have to be able to get out of the submarine, which presents another set of problems for them being able to breathe underwater.
It should be a
sunken city.
Rude.
It's my light up.
Okay. Be a city, and there's also a wizard tower.
That's what I was just gonna say.
Maybe the wizard is the reason the city is sunk. Something went really, really terribly well when he cast a spell, and
right
here we are.
All right, so let's just lay out our sunken city real quick with a couple like major districts or something that you would find there, right?
Well, I think it makes too that you know that there's a tower there. Like that's like the fiddly bit that somebody left out,
right?
You know,
we need to kind of not let's call it a tube. With two.
It's obviously a scroll case.
Well, I'm thinking so
a giant scroll case.
Let's see how ridiculous we can make this. So initially it could have been a tower, right? But then when the city sinks, does it like tip over and then he manages to like seal it or something so that it's actually like a tube, like a tower tipped over on its side, and now everything is built inside there that way because it tipped over.
But what?
Because ocean and waves, when the city sinks, it knocks stuff over. Because I kind of like the idea of putting the characters on their heels a little bit, because they're not going to be going up a tower necessarily. If the environment itself will seem very strange and different, because the layout of everything will be significantly different if it's a tower that was tipped on its side. Do you know what I'm saying? Does it make sense?
I can't. I don't know.
What the reason I'm saying to go that way is because if you go into a tower, they're just gonna be like, okay, we're in a tower underwater, and that's essentially all we've got. Do you know what I'm saying?
There's a whole city.
Well, right, but if the focus of the thing is going to like the climax of it is going to be this tower or whatever, right? Does it make sense or no?
I just don't see how tipping it over.
Because instead of going, like when you're going up a wizard tower, right? You know, it's like always more difficult as you go higher or whatever. But if we tip it on its side, now we have to go like this way, and everything, like if it's been underwater for a while, the tower structure itself will like structurally will be still like tower shaped, but now everything will have been modified to where this is floor, like the wall.
That's kind of cool, but wouldn't it be cooler if you sank it upside down underground and everything?
Yeah, but they're still just going straight down though. It's like that's my, you know what I mean? I know the other thing I thought of was that if it's like on its side, if it's somehow not necessarily laying like submerged in the ground a little bit, there's a possibility that it could move or list a little bit or roll, which could create all kinds of bad things potentially.
So there's no actual wizard in there anymore.
I don't know. We could figure that out. Maybe there is, maybe there's not. But either way, there's all kinds of stuff and trouble that you always have in a tower or whatever. You know what I'm saying? Or maybe it was sealed and left or whatever, right? So, all right. So before we do that though, so the city sinks, right? So
what if it gets swallowed by some side of creature?
Well, there's a lot of adventures that have like a sleeping god somewhere. It's like it could be a sleeping kraken that they summoned and woke up. This wizard summoned and woke up, and it ate the city and pulled it underwater.
I have seen.
We'll come around. That's not our concern. All right, so we have this tipped tower, right? So how many should we do? Should we do like 3 or 4 districts that are like destroyed and wrecked? 6, okay.
Pie.
Oh, I see what you're saying. Okay.
8 somewhere.
Yeah. So what are our districts going to be then, broadly speaking?
Well, you'd have like a high district, fancy, or then you've got your poorhouse district to that, your merchant district. I'm gonna guess sunken, probably docks, stuff like that. It had to at least be close to the ocean. Although that would be really hilarious. It was like
just landlocked.
Yeah.
All right, then we can just leave the 2 open figures out.
Well, there's something between like noble and
not
slums.
Necessarily. Depends on what their society is like.
Like a middle class area, like
right. But depending on when, in terms of like their emergent class emerging, there may not be that. It could just be like serfs and nobles, basically. Do you know what I'm saying? So, and then we already know we have some kind of a wizard presence here, right? So I'm going to make this tower a wizard district or whatever. So I like the idea of bathhouses for some reason.
There should be like a district.
I like the idea of like bathtubs underwater. Do you know what I mean? Like it seems kind of weird and silly. Do you know what I mean? So I'm just going to make a couple notes here. So bathhouses. What other like cultural phenomenon were we going to make important here?
Well, I feel like with the wizard thing, you could go two different ways, right? Like, so if he's like a main feature of the place, then either learning you really important, or it can be forbidden for everyone but the wizard.
I like forbidden. Forbidden. We got to make this guy seems like if he woke up a sleeping god that ate the whole city, I think he's got to be some kind of.
So then I don't know, like necessarily. Obviously, books would be like important to him, but maybe everybody can notice like a complete lack of books anywhere else. Like even in noble houses that would normally have like libraries or at least a Bible or something. Like there's nothing.
I like big statues because I like the idea of these when you're underwater and it's deep, right? You can't see real well, and these looming shadows that are just sort of in the distance, this sort of, pale, darker shadow, that's kind of ominous. And in the distance, as you get closer, you realize, oh, that's just a statue, or was it? Do you know what I'm saying?
I like the idea of garden. So think like Babylon, and you would assume that most of that stuff would be gone because it's under the water, but maybe something's adapted and changed over time so that there's like some weird subflora happening. And maybe even some like hot vents, because in the ocean, that's where those kind of things thrive.
Right. So with these, if these are going to be like a couple main features here, what are some things that would have changed as time went by and the city got sank? How would these things have changed, and how would they be consumed by the ocean and the flora and fauna of the ocean?
Well, when it comes to gardens and flowers, things in the ocean don't survive by photosynthesis. They have to eat other things. So you're going to carnivorous flower.
I'm going to put carnivorous flower / horror. So these big statues, I like the idea of I kind of describe them as being the big ominous shadows in the distance, right? I think that if there were large predators, they might be able to, like, they would know that their prey might have a harder time identifying them because of these other shadows being around. So maybe that draws larger predators here to the area because they can hide easier, right? Or not necessarily hide easier. The prey is acclimated to these big shadows in the distance. Does it make sense?
For them.
And then I want to do something with bioluminescence because that's always really cool. Yeah, there's a lot that can tie into a lot of stuff. And then with the volcanic vents, I like the idea of playing with temperature, how like there might be areas of this water where it's very cold, and at the same time, not so far away, areas that are basically, boiling, burning hot water, scalding hot water, right? And then the difference in the life, the habitation, you know what I mean? It's like right next to this lava, it's really, really hot. So the creatures that are there have to stay close to that heat, and, what that means for them and whatever. Right on. Okay, so we have some setting here, some physical geography or whatever. What about, you mentioned anglerfish, and I just like the idea of, like, I said a lot there, of a giant angler, right? I like the anglerfish. Is just so cool and terrifying. It seems so unnatural. Do you know what I mean? Yes, but giant. So, like, hang on. What if, like how the anglerfish has the light on it? Is the light a mermaid? Do you know what I'm saying? Where, so there's that snake that has the spider tail, right? And it gets the birds to come attack its tail, and then it eats the tail, right? Kind of like that, where this looks like a mermaid. And then you're like, what? And then it, lures you in to get eaten by the giant anglerfish. Do you know what I'm saying?
I guess if it was...
Yeah, I'm thinking like, massive, like it's going to eat a person. Like it would eat a shark. You know what I'm saying? Do you like that? Like, I feel like if they see a giant light, the people, they're not bugs. They're not going to be like, must go to the light, right? But I think if there's a relatively non-threatening...
Well, I just thought like, so when you think about something from a distance, you think about shape. So like an overall hourglass shape,
right?
And something that looks like it could be hair.
Yeah, no, that's exactly
and then you turn
what I'm
around, an anglerfish face.
But is it on the end of a thingy?
No, I just like an angler and like.
I think though, it just seems so because like it can make it swim. Do you know what I mean? And here's the reason why I kind of have this in mind, right? So we know predators mimic normal stuff, right? So like that snake with the spider tail thing, right? It's mimicking a spider, right? So what if
maybe statue? Oh, maybe it's just giant. A feeler fish statue for viewers.
Well, what I was thinking is that maybe the anglerfish is mimicking the terrible mermaid. So there's both there. There's this one that's non-threatening, and then there's the terrible like siren ones with like the pointy jagged teeth and the two wide mouths and and that kind of stuff. You know what I'm saying? So there's, one that's, seem friendly and nice, like Ariel. And then there's other ones that No, it looks like that. It just has that, like you said, that hourglass shape to it, like that pleasing shape with like the flowy algae hair, but it's really just attached to the stalk of this giant toothy thing that's going to eat you in one gulp, right? And
Maybe
then
they're biotic. That happens in the ocean times
Yeah.
too. That'd be weird. Like maybe the bioluminescent light is actually light that one creature needs, and so it just like attractive things.
Right.
And, I don't know. Anyways,
I'm writing
half
down
real
terrible
statue,
mermaids.
terrifying ink.
I think our statues should be, just popped into my head to make them seem more out of place. They should be like large land animals like moose and bears. You know what I mean? You know, so that yeah, so like when they're and people obviously as well, but that way when they walk through, it's like this giant moose that's in the middle of this sunken city in the middle of the ocean, or where it's like, what?
Why would there though if it's an island?
Well, we don't have to really address what the origin of the city was, right? Whether it was landlocked or not, or whether it was just on the coast near a great wilderness. You know, like it's Vancouver, right? Vancouver's on the ocean, and yet there's grizzlies and moose and all kinds of stuff up there. So we have our giant
Farm. It's like a pig and
Right.
cow. There's a statue for chickens.
So I have our giant angler, some terrible mermaids, and one more. We need to make one more weird ass.
Well, it makes off the bathhouse. Water should go uninfested.
Lampreys. Oh,
Electric, because nobody wants to deal with that.
electric lamprey. And they're not huge. They're regular size lamprey, or maybe just a little bit bigger. So like the large snake size, like 5 foot long or whatever. And you know the lamprey mouth with the teeth that are around? So if you don't know what a lamprey is, Google lamprey. It's Lamprey. And they are terrifying. Basically, they have a round sucker mouth that has teeth in it. They're like in a circle. It bites and then slowly drinks blood off of the host. I don't know which one to call that. And they are terrible and scary
Exactly
and
what you
awful.
call that.
Yeah. Okay, so electric lampreys. I like that. That's awesome. So let's make one more creature that we're going to feature in the hot vent area. What do you think about that? I think it should be drastically different than these, you know, maybe like crustacean
In
style.
a freet.
I am the watcher of freet. What about, what are the shrimp dudes that punch really hard and fast? The mantis shrimp. Death by shrimp. Pow. Not so-
Giant crustacean. I mean, that makes sense at a heat vent.
Yeah. And crustaceans are kind of terrifying in a way because you can tear their legs off and stuff, and they're just like, yeah, that's gone. I've only got 7 now.
And plus the huge, right?
Yeah.
Like being like, think about like the Gunslinger books
Oh, yes.
and those crabs on the beach.
Yeah, drawing a 3. That was really cool. All right, so crustacean. So how many legs? We going 8 legs? 8 pinchers?
Absolutely.
How many?
2.
2 big ones?
You know.
So how big is this thing going to be? Okay, man sized. Is it going to be crab, like round like a crab, or is it going to be like
Or you could
lobster
do
tail?
you could do smaller than that, but have it be like several. They're not always like they're not usually like solitary. Like they live in
Right.
like groups.
Well, you could even have it to where there's several
So
like
maybe,
in
like,
different stages
you know,
of maturity.
Dog size, but there's lots of
Right.
like den of.
I think we have like main pinchers, like the claws, like the fighting and mating claws, and they have like the couple smaller ones pick, you know. So
And-
oh yes, and do they have a lobster tail, or are they just crab like?
I think they're
Or is it something
crab-like.
else? Crab.
I don't know how hard.
Pretty hard. Pretty hard. I also want to terrify them. And lobsters, while they're terrifying, if they're dog sized, don't feel that conveys full on terror, though. You know?
Especially if they bury crabs too. So maybe
Ooh,
all you see
yes.
is their antennas, and you don't
Right.
realize
Oh,
until things start feeling you up,
what if
and then
their
you're like,
antennas,
oh,
they've got
God.
eyelids, right? What if their antennas are sparkly like a gem when their eyes are open? So when they're sunk in the ground, you just see these gems that are laying on the ground, right? And it looks like maybe they twinkle because they blink, but it's like you think it's a light gleaming across them and they're blinking, but it's actually just them blinking. And then you go to grab it, and then here they come rising out of the silt. Oh, that's good. I like it. Does that work, you think?
Yeah.
Gem eyeball. I just wrote EB eyeballs. There we go. Okay.
It's a standard deviation.
Yeah, there you go. So we have some creatures. We have some little zones here. What about our tower? Let's just do it quick. So we have our crenellation on the top here.
That looks like
A cylinder with a broken thing.
sure. Yeah, that's exactly what.
All right, so we have windows in the side of it, right?
Right. Yeah.
And
Like more towards the tip.
so there's going to be a door, like a main entrance door or whatever, and there'll probably be an entrance in the top of the tower, like where the flat part of the tower is here, right?
Seriously, you're gonna have to make it look less like a dildo, or I'm not gonna be able to continue this conversation.
Look, it's a cylinder, okay?
Oh my god, it doesn't look like a. Are you kidding me?
It's because it's a cylinder. Don't you understand? Here. It's like an isometric view of it. That's how that works.
Uh-huh. It's a little better.
I have a question. So our tower here, is it broken off? So somewhere in the one of these districts is like the base, like just like a little bit of the base of it and a couple floors below?
I think that makes sense. Like that's the only reason I see that it would be laying on to begin with.
Right on. So somewhere we have a tower basement then too. That's in the district, right? All right. So now this tower is on its side, and we've already kind of decided that if our crustaceans that nest in the ground or whatever, or our giant anglerfish, if there's too much movement or spooking them or whatever, it might cause they might disturb the soil or actually bump into the tower enough to where it might shift or roll or list or something. So there's some weird unsteadiness there, right? All right, so what is going to be inside of our tower?
They do it on purpose. They get bored and roll it around just for fun.
Right. Or maybe that's where they lay eggs or something underneath the tower, like they roll it back and then lay the eggs and the tower settles back where it was. They dig themselves back out. Okay, so I think that this tower has been laying here on its side long enough that whatever wizard or summoner or whatever that was inside here converted the tower once it tipped over to be where it rebuilt a floor on the bottom, right? So the tower is all kinds of wonky, and the stairs are on the walls, and it's actually tipped over. But something lived here long enough to sort of reset up shop with everything, not necessarily everything, but a lot of stuff on a new ground, right? And then our footing is going to be wonky because it's going to be in a cylinder, so our floor isn't flat anymore. So even if you are walking around inside there, under the water, breathing somehow, your footing is going to be funny because the way the floor is, it's not flat anymore, right? So what weirdness are we going to put? Let's do like a couple
I
four
really
things.
want there to be a little bit of water.
Okay, right on.
Like just like a foot of water.
Oh no, and leaks. Like it's slowly trickling in spots, and then as our crustaceans or whatever tip it and it moves, a little more water starts to come in, so it can have this instability. Because we've always talked about how time is a cool pressure cooker for the players, right? So water leaking 1 foot on the ground.
Do you know what I find ridiculous? So there's been you said there's been a wizard living in here long enough to compensate. So maybe his tower is slowly leaking and he can't fix that, but he's created some kind of like whale blowhole mechanism. So like every so many hours it goes off and all the water goes like shooting out of the tower.
Right on, clearance system.
Plus then somebody could end up getting caught up inside the clearance system.
Yeah.
That could be wicked fun.
Yeah. Well, then I like the idea. We've talked about these lamprey, right? They might get in here, and what is more terrifying than being in whatever maybe waist deep waters that is rushing through to be flushed out, and it's just full of these lamprey that are swimming around and trying to.
Well, and you won't know about the clearance system either. So maybe when you go in, it's like ankle deep, but by the time you get to like the middle, you're up to your waist, just like wandering, and it's like up to your nipples before it finally blows out.
And then, but not even that. What if the tower isn't exactly level? So the water is always going to go to the lowest point. So when you first walk in, it might be just a couple inches of water, but as you get deeper in, it's chesty now, right? Like that. That's awesome. All right. So a couple other cool features for our tower here. What else do we have? I think not one to add to this, but whatever he summoned, right? The potential there exists to resummon this sleeping god again, right? So the ingredients and the books and how to do it is all there.
So what did we get sent down here to actually retrieve? Whatever that thing is going to be within here.
Got to be something pretty, right? Trivia.
Book. I kind of feel like maybe he summoned a sleeping god in order to steal something.
Right on. So what did the sleeping god have or take? Or maybe he got this item and the sleeping god woke up to reclaim it and take it back into the ocean.
Not an item. Maybe it's a living creature. It's something that the sleeping god holds dear. And so, sort of like Davy Jones's heart kind of thing that like Calypso has.
I like that. Well, I think heart is a little too on the nose. And if we stay nautical, orcas eat the livers of sharks first because I guess they taste better or something, or that's where the most nutrients are. So maybe like a giant liver, like that'd be just weird to find. Maybe the guy doesn't even know exactly what it is, but he knows it's this treasure that's down there. The adventurers get down there and it's just a giant liver, like the WTF and the grossness of a slimy liver you gotta carry out of this tower. I don't know. So we'll circle back around. So we have a treasure, right? What's our last here? I feel like we should have something wizardy. We haven't had much wizardy stuff in here. What about some kind of weird sea golem creature that guards the tower? Like it's a construct that the wizard has made, but he only has the tools that are around him.
So commemoration of all the far. It's like the stinging tail of crab and like the electricity of the lamprey and like the anglerfish face.
Probably that's probably not the way best. That's probably not. I don't know. Because if we do that, what if it's just a stone golem that's covered in our carnivorous plants? Do you know what I mean? So it's just a golem that is covered in the poisonous and carnivorous plants that sort of, as it clubs you with its arms, because it's a golem,
Deep mission barnacles.
I'm going to call it a barnacle golem. Right. It's terrible. So I think that the golem goes out, like it patrols maybe, right? And that's why it's covered in...
Maybe.
It was so weird. But you know, it's like it goes out and then it patrols, and that's how it has accumulated all of this stuff, right? So it was just a guardian of the tower originally. And then as it patrols the new grounds of the tower, it's a stone golem, so it's going to catch whatever is going by in the currents of the ocean. And now it has these new barnacles and corals and that kind of stuff growing on it, right? You don't really want to add a jellyfish in here somewhere for some reason. Yeah, irakanji. Plus you get to say that kind of a word, right? But like a giant one, like maybe where... Oh, what's a jellyfish? It's backwards, so it looks like it's like kelp in the seafloor. It doesn't... You know what I'm saying? Could be seen.
These tower fish.
Terrible if like a catapult that just like shot Portuguese man of wars or something. It's like, no.
It's the jellies.
Oh, this seems terrible. Yeah.
Mad scientist.
Some put sample. And inside there is obviously like misbegotten creatures and that kind of stuff.
Cat crab.
Yes. All right. So all we have to do is figure out what this treasure is. So there's going to be some noble that's going to hire our poor, unsuspecting adventurers to go. Wouldn't that be the greatest thing where it's like you go to get an adventure and the guy's like, the nobleman says, I'm paying whatever it is, 1,000 silver pieces, and I need you to go into this empty tower and get me this treasure and bring it back to me. Like, yeah, that'll be great. Okay. So you'll be leaving from here on this day, show up first light or whatever. And they get there and then there's this submarine. And I'm like, wait, what? What are we? What?
But the money is good.
Or maybe they get there and they get on a ship and the ship goes to the submarine, right? Because the submarine can't just sail all the way there. So then they lower it in the water and then you go. Yeah. It seems like a terrible gotcha moment. Oh no. Who made this deal? All right. So we just need to, what's our treasure going to be?
I feed the sea gods like a situation.
Right. So what is it? Is it like humanoid? Is it a mermaid? Is it
a siren?
Or we can sell. Perfect. So can they leave? What happens when they leave?
Well, maybe she has already left. Like, maybe that's why the noble wants back.
So is she in the tower or no?
Maybe. Possibly.
Seems kind of like if they get there and there's no treasure, it seems like we're pulling up the rug from under them. Whether or not she wants to leave or not, I think we need that up in the air. Do you know what I'm saying?
There should be like treasure. But...
No. I mean, the object of the object of why they're going. So, and then I like the idea of the possibility of the wizard being here or not necessarily. So that might be, wizard present. Right on. All right.
I don't know. I like the like unrequited love story. Like maybe this guy and Siren had a relationship.
The wizard.
And her like the god of the ocean or whatever found out about it and sunk the city.
Oh, okay.
Keep them apart, and then he sent you on this fool's errand. Like go find this.
So is this Persephone? Is it the sea god's love or is it the sea god's daughter?
I could go either way.
Okay, so we can leave that at sorry, daughter/lover, so you can kind of decide that whichever way you want to go. And then does our nobleman want the daughter lover/lover to come? Okay,
I think
right on. All right, I think we wrap that one up here. Is that kind of flesh out enough to at least run a game based off of that? You have to whip up some stats for some weird crustacean lamprey, terrible siren mermaids, and
a barn.
Yeah, I also like the idea of if you have to capture this Selkie or siren, capture or convince it to come with you, that if you leave, there's all the ones that are outside that may not want you to be leaving with her. So then there's this sort of chase that is going to ensue, right? Where you have to get out, escape the pursuers or whatever.
Yeah, and she in and of herself is dangerous. So it's not just a simple like smash and grab. Right. All right, we got it. Let's go. Right. Like she better be coming willingly, or you could have a very long.
I also like tying in the what do you call it? The chaos of the sea. Maybe if we're going to go full on mythical, right? Maybe the presence of this siren is what gives the sea its sort of unpredictability. So if the siren gets emotional or upset, that's what caused the disaster. So you have to go easy. You can't just run in and kidnap the siren. Otherwise, bad stuff happens, right? Tsunamis, tidal waves, full on Poseidon style. Right on. Well, I think that one will do it for us there. Should we wrap that one up here?
Yeah.
I don't know. I like this one. This looks like it could be a kind of a cool, fun little adventure here. We'll see if this turns into something. We might run this a couple times and see what we can do with it. So I think that one we'll wrap that one up here. If you like this, go ahead and give it a shot. Run it and see what you think. Let us know what works or doesn't work for your table. If there's any terrible character deaths or awesome moments that might come from this, let us know. You can drop us a line and hit us up at on Twitter at JustMoreFix for our Facebook group, or you can email me, James, at JustMoreFix. As you know, we are a member of the Gun and Geek Network, so you can head over to gunandgeeknetwork.com and check all the geek content out over there. You can find our podcast listed there, as well as all kinds of other podcasts related to geek content, TV shows, comics, video games, console games, RPGs, all kinds of stuff over there. So you can head over there and check out lots and lots of awesome geek content over there. And if you like what we do here at Just More Fix, you can support us at patreon.com/justmorefix and get access to all of our pre-shows and raw audio feeds and early access to our shows, as well as our zines in PDF or print format, depending on what level you support at. And you can join the awesome ranks of our other Patreon supporters like Alan White, Simon McNair, Alistair H., Timothy Barr, Hector Treelane, Tiziano Furlano, Paul Hubbard, and the OG Todd Olson. I think that'll do it for us this week, and we will see you all next week. Thanks for listening. This has been an episode of Just One More Fix. Music has been provided by Kevin MacLeod. You can find him at incompetech.com. You can support us at patreon.com/JustOneMoreFix or follow us on Twitter at JustOneMoreFix.